hi Himanshu, how are you?
Hi, Darshan.
I have quick questions for you
Okay.
to get started.
Okay.
So we are seeing so many implementations in AI,
All right.
but a lot of these implementations don't see ray of life. What's your point of view?
See, there have been cases where implementations using AI ML have already been implemented. There are some proprietary products being created, and retrofitting that, right, has been a task which is not solved as yet, right? And that's where the number of departments that are there trying to solve this issue in their own way has become a problem. The old problem of AI ML not being successful because of data quality issues, right? For not being able to integrate with each other is something that is a concern for everybody. And not having the right skills, not having the right setup, or not knowing the ROI that will accrue after the implementation is something not everybody is aware of. And that's why there is a circumspection around the globe where going ahead, will it actually be a success story or not? Secondly, those who've already gone down this lane have realized there are roadblocks in the form of data purity issues or data compliance issues, right? And that's where productionization of these products or these existing entities is.
Okay, so do you think it's going to be still persuasive in terms of want to implement, but still needs a lot of background to get it through?
Absolutely, right? So it started as a technology story, and now everybody is realizing it is more of a line of business story rather than a technology story, right? And compliance, security, and data protection has come across as the major talking point once it goes into production, and that is where now you're talking about implementing guardrails, implement evaluation of frameworks, right? And how to repurpose existing models that have been created, right, is where the focus will be.
Then we have seen there are a lot many CXOs who are very, very, I would say, open for AI implementations. They do a lot of POCs and get started. But when they go at an enterprise level, they face a lot of challenges. What's your point of view there?
So, scalability is surely a concern, right? And this was a very hard lesson that every industry has learned, right? And data intensive industries like banking or insurance or pharma are the ones who have realized on this in a very, very hard way. And secondly, frameworks like Llama Index or like which have come across. The implementations are not so easy. Integration across the Agentic AI concept, right? How do we ensure session management? How do we ensure security across the world? It is something lost when we get into production, right? In a POC, it works very well. When you productionize this, integration of into all the agents that you have created, so-called industry agents or integrity agents that have been created, has become a main problem. And not knowing the costs of the ROI, not on the right infrastructure to implement, is where industries are being out, and that is where scalability in production is a concern for everybody to make it aimed up as well.
So it's more of an underestimated things, I would say.
See, it is about not knowing the unknowns. Yeah, right? What we hit you is something not all the others were aware of 3 years back or a few years back, right? They went with the interpretation, assuming you can be a success story from them with great ROI, reduced development analysis, right? But not everybody has been able to achieve that. And now, as an outcome of it, is we're having the right evaluation frameworks and the right guardrails that which I mentioned almost is something everybody is trying to play.
So from a CIO, CDO perspective or the CXO perspective, what would be the top points that you would suggest should be the readiness points in terms of getting these investments into fruitful results?
Optimization is the right word, I would say, right? You have been doing business for last so many years, right? Models have been built, products have been retrofitted, integrated with each other, right? And the existing ecosystem have been like the most of what you already have versus starting from scratch. That is the first part. Secondly, businesses like insurance and finance, right, which depend on cost products, right? It is very difficult to implement newer technologies on top of developed art. Using multiple versions of that with multiple clients is gonna be a concern. And integration, and I believe not just security, but integration is going to be a major concern across that at different costs. There are compliance issues, sharing of data that we compliance. So any issue that you face with AI ML, any issues that you face as far as data sharing is concerned, any issues as far as compliance or not able concern is something that you face. First of all, in initial as well as AI.
So when people get started with pilots or simple POCs or getting to test their learns using these technologies and tools, uh, especially at what and pilots I think are just more of a testament make things work come up, test it how things are. But at what point governance becomes mandatory activity? And it's no longer to be seen as a POC.
That is something that you to think right from scratch, right? So previously we talked about not much requirement of architecture, right? Security was an afterthought, right? And then everybody realized, oh, it cannot be an afterthought. DevOps should also include security, and then it became a DevSecOps. Similarly, data governance is something that cannot be an afterthought, right? Or AI governance cannot be, or AI governance cannot be an afterthought. It actually thought through initially by line of business as to what impact it will to have, because there are audits that have to be done every 6 months or every few months, right? There are data quality issues, data security issues, right? How you share data with friends, how you ensure tokenization is taking place the right way there. And from that point of view, how you ensure that data residency, data processing, data security, and data compliance are all spoken in the same breath. And that's where data governance, right, as the first phase of discussion during the analysis phase is very important. And that is a pertinent point that every organization should think about.
So then, when would we call something as a enterprise grade AI application or enterprise grade AI enabled application? And there are guardrails. There are so many things that we need to be looked at.
Absolutely. That's where the data governance wanted to be right. And guardrails doesn't mean the top only term of cost, right? So guardrails can put across to ensure that you are incrementally well within the budget, well within the cost that you had. But guardrails also means that you are compliant within your own ecosystem. When I say ecosystem, it is technology. And when I say compliance, it is about compliance with the state or regulated compliances that come into picture. And if those have been implemented or thought through before, right, that is when you'll be in a good position. At the same time, capacity sizing, right, is training this data, right, and ensuring, and there are cases where reinforcement learning has been a precursor to actual implementation mechanisms, right, and that is where if you are actually implementing reinforcement learning, it becomes necessary that every few months or periodically you're able to revisit your modules, revisit to see if there are biases or hallucinations or short-term memory losses creeping in, right? And with advancements in LLMs, advancement in the platform that are available, right? An upgrade is something they have to be very volume, right? But this have to happen before the concentration, right? Ensuring that automation move from capacity by applicant can before that happens. And we are ready with that. That is when you should train that you are an enterprise level application, enterprise AI implementation.
So it's just are these thoughts the ones which kind of made you to think more creative and which led to the offering of GenABox?
Absolutely. So GenABox started as an offering where there was circumspection, there was fear as to October, what did the implementation, what spins would be needed, what margin should be earmarked, what should be the ROI that should be expected. From a business point of view, we could be compliant enough to work across state regulations, right? And ensuring that there is a smooth transition from a development to a production environment, right? And there has to be a template from an infra point of view, from application point of view, and GenAI implementation point of view, which can be made visible across the board, right? And that's where this GenABox came to be. It's a form of platformizing and bringing in the right framework, the right regulations in place, and ensuring the right production-based infrastructure that is there in Ковсра side.
So how does this pre-engineered approach help in getting value for the customer? How does it add value?
So this platform GenABox, right, gives you templates. It gives you infrastructure templates. It gives you necessary rack pipelines in place, right, which can be thought about as the template which you can replicate across multiple businesses, across multiple use cases, right? You don't have to start from scratch. That's what the beauty of this is, right? And once you have one or two use cases in place, that can be again re-templatized to be used further across the world.
So for the little bit insight, are all this measurable KPIs can it be really monitored and made it actionable from an end-to-end customer perspective?
Yes. So there are metrics that are going to be created, and that's where the evaluation framework and guardrails to be monitored on a regular basis come to the fore, right? You start with the development environment into production environment as well. So not just from the amount of input and output tokens being utilized, not just the latency that is crept in over a period of time, right? As data clips, data keeps on growing, right? You come across issues around latency, come across issues around issues around compliances, right? And that is where if you're able to monitor these, right? And that's what GenABox 2.0 also adds to that, right? GenABox came into being last year with platformization, frameworks, templatization, ready to start right from day one, right? And now this is more about the learnings that we have seen across the industry, where guardrails, evaluation framework, metrics, right? Integration and cost, right, has to be thought through and monitored on a regular basis, and there has to be some sort of an automation that tells you where to put a hold and go ahead after that, right? So that's what GenABox 2.0 is all about. Also, from an industry point of view, right, if you are able to templatize not just the technical right pipelines, but you are able to add industry flavor or industry agents which can integrate pretty well while you are in the development environment, right? You won't encounter those integration issues as you go into action, right? And that's what GenABox 2.0 is all about. Ensuring where industry agents are well deployed, you want to use it.
So maybe a couple of industry applications if you want to call out, maybe pharmaceutical, retail, some tech piece.
Yes. So to see wherever there is huge amount of leakage or huge amount of research happening, right? Those industries are going to be the first and the foremost trying to implement these, right? Legal firms or firms where we have to have across the state mergers and acquisitions happening, right? But too much of causes have to be thought through. And in a power industry where R&D is very prominent thing, right? Drugs which is to take 75 years before they be formally launched, right? COVID reduced that from 75 years to a few months, right? And now we are trying to see that can be crunched further as well, right? And amount of data erosion that can happen because of the GPUs that are available right now has going to be added to reduction in the lifetime of the R&D that is going to happen. In case of healthcare, right, automation of how to read the MRIs, how to predict whether a human being can be down with 𝗔𝗴𝗲, Parkinson's, a brain tumor, or post-treatment survey. These are some of the use cases which GenAI can actually provide you, where you provide text, audio, image, right, and other clinical data in the form of text, which then can be analyzed by GenAI, and a prediction can be done as to whether a person is down with a particular disease or a Parkinson's or post-treatment or a brain tumor.
So there's a couple of more questions. So looking at down 3 years, how would these enterprise AI programs evolve?
It is going to be very industry specific, right? So now you will see more and more industry agents coming to the fore, right? The legal lawyer specific stuff is now very in a mature state. The media industry is now utilizing that in a very large scale, right? Creation of prose, creation of the right storyline, creation of videos based on just a simple uh, script, right? Is something that has happened with media as well. So industry specific agents or industry specific flavor to existing LLMs, and that would also become necessary because of security concerns, and enterprise would want to have their own foundation models or foundation models being customized to cater to their industry.
Now, one last question. We really appreciate your answers. If you were to summarize, okay, at a very broad level, what separates these AI buyers versus AI leaders? Again, it's a question embedded too many broader categories, but we are seeing the evolution, and we have seen the consumption pattern. We are also seeing the technology angle of it. What would be your summarization of what is going to happen?
See, my view is that just as there is a movement where hybrid implementation of cloud has become mandatory, not everybody wants to go to cloud. All this development will become in-house development. Every implementation will not just be confined to cloud, but could be within the enterprise itself, with security, with compliance, and with end-to-end integration happening in place, and third-party data being ingested as part of that, right? So the development will happen in-house. More and more organizations would want to keep control of the data, would want to keep control of the agents that they have in place, and would like to customize them based on the existing ecosystem, based on existing models they already have within the organization. So rather than speaking on cloud, it could also happen that more and more enterprise level applications being developed within the enterprise itself, rather than making it up a SaaS product or utilizing SaaS products that are available in the market today in an stable form. Not every organization would like to do that, but majority of them would build their own enterprise industry specific agents and their specific departments. That is what I foresee.
Thank you so much, Himanshu. Thanks for the insights, and really thank you for joining us on this podcast.
Thank you, Matt.
Bye.